Into the SorareData Strategy Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined as always by Sean Newsham. You can find him as PSU Fans too. For those who are watching us live, thank you so much. We were commenting that there were already a ton of comments. Whoa! I'm already ruining things with an echo. Sorry, guys. There we go. Anyway, thank you to everybody for joining us live. And for those who did not, thank you for watching the video or listening. We definitely appreciate all the people who take in this content. It makes it easier to do them every week when it feels like people are actually enjoying them. So thank you for everyone for participating. Sean, we did a show a few weeks ago, it's probably months ago, so rare time is a little weird, about us getting ready for the summer. We're not in the summer yet. It was actually getting ready for America and Asia. But it's not their time quite yet. And I feel like everything that I thought would be good back then is just awful now. And I'm like, I look at my gallery and I'm like, I thought I got ready for this and I don't seem to be ready. How do you feel?
Well, you have Carlos Gil.
That's true.
So you're ahead of the curve, right? Like that's like the card you need to have. I mean, I'm just preparing for it by winning rewards like Joao Paulo. So like I'm fully reinforced.
I just saw that, dude. That is
so like I'm good to go. Like I mean, you just when you add like a 60 average mid, like that's a great way to bolster your summer team. So like I'm ready to deploy him. I'm ready to put him in play. So yeah, it does. It's looking good. Yeah, there's definitely some things that have been weird, I would say, to start the Asian and American seasons. The one thing that has been consistent has been Carlos Hill. He's the GOAT and remains the GOAT as of now. I'm sure he's due for an ACL tear or something, right?
No,
like, he's got to be due for it. But we were pretty accurate with like some of the guys we talked up, like U23 guys, like Pablo Ruiz. We really talked him up. He's been fantastic. We talked about Maya. He's been pretty good, not as good as he was at the beginning of the season, but he's been pretty solid. There's just been some weird things like Asia. The Marinos rotation has been really weird. Frontail
has been weird too.
What's up?
Antlers have been weird too.
Antlers have been actually pretty consistent.
Let me rephrase. The one guy that I had immediately got benched.
Oh, Iraqi. I never
it's just
understood the Iraqi hype. I don't know. Everyone loved Iraqi. I never really saw it. Like I wouldn't have sold him if I had him because I have so many U23s on that team. Like it would have made sense. But he had no AA. Like he was a guy that had no AA that was like a cam with no AA at all. And it was just I never really understood his price point because his price point was absurd for a long time.
He also took set pieces. And it was like, how could your AA be this bad with set pieces?
I didn't understand. I didn't understand how his AA was so bad with set pieces. It was like baffling to me how bad it was. But like, what was his price? Like, if I'm going to look at his price graph from like even he was at like 0.66 ETH for a rare. I never understood it. Like, I don't think he's a bad card to have. Like, if he was playing, like I think he was fine. But I always thought he was like really overrated. Like, you could have got other guys instead of that made a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, my theory on him was that, and I'll be honest, that I don't watch any J League matches. So I will preface by saying that. But it's astonishing to see somebody who I'm pretty sure he led them in set pieces last year. And they may move him around a bunch. But is it just possible that they just are never crossed in, or they are crossed in and nobody's there to put a head on it to at least get some sort of attempted assist? Like,
yeah, they have to be crossed in because if they weren't crossed in, you would generate points.
Right.
Like they have to be crossed in and lost. Like basically, he must be the worst set piece taker of all time. I guess that's the only thing. I don't know. Like I don't watch. I watch some J League games, but they have to line up right with the schedule. Like they have to be at like a 6 or 7 a.m. start, and I'm getting up at like 6 or 7 and pop it on. Which usually is the Champs League games, right? Like I've seen a lot of Marinos games already, but I also have a lot more reason to do it. I would watch Antlers though, because I generally have Yuma Suzuki in some strong lineups. But like Yuma Suzuki's been very consistent. Sekagawa, Tsunemoto, Ueda, they've all been really consistent. Obviously, Everaldo is dead and he's back in Brazil for the time being.
Yep.
But like most of their team, the 40-year-old goalie has been consistent. That's been fun. I've really enjoyed that.
Young lad.
At least I got one of the 23-year-old goalies that I needed in the summer to like start over their 40-year-old counterpart. So that's a plus. So I'm glad about that. But
I will say that we may have been a little, not a little. We were optimistic that Yu Yu Oki would start, but I think it was kind of just general optimism from the entire community. And it was like, yeah, of course he'll start. And then he didn't. I won Iraqi towards the end of last season, and I was like, oh, I should sell this guy. I'm not going to use him. And it just felt like there was so much hype around him. And I was like, and then we were talking about how dead the summer was, and I was like, maybe I can get more out of this guy if I hold him. Big regrets.
I wonder what Oki's price is. I haven't checked Oki's price yet. Oki is the most important one for me.
Oki never got cheap. He was like 0.45.
No. He's still not even cheap. He's still 0.3.
Yeah.
Like
Oki was much cheaper.
Of all the ones I wanted to start, it was Oki because I had a rare and super rare. The team is very easily stacked from U23 purposes.
Yeah.
And that's the best team. Of all the possible U23 summer goalie situations, that team is the most dominant team, which as you've seen with like Sun Moon Tae or whatever his name is, they've kept quite a few clean sheets to start the season.
Right. They have no reason to go to Oki.
No, they have no reason to go to Oki now. And I think it's not like it would have been any different if Oki started, you would have had the same situation. But
yeah,
this situation that team was a situation where if Oki had started, his scores would be probably better than all the other summer goalies because that team's just better than all the other summer goalies.
Sure. Yeah, like Slonina, I think, is a pretty decent score just because his AA is so good. But they have been getting some clean sheets. But yeah, like Antlers are good. And so, like, we know Chicago's terrible. So like you had a young goalie on a team that was actually good. This is reminding me that I also had Kim Min Tae, who you sold me, and he seems to have not played anymore either.
Apparently he's healthy though, if that makes you feel
better. Sweet. He's a healthy
I saw that. I believe he is healthy and is ready to go. When he plays, we'll have to see. Sakagawa was supposed to get benched at the beginning of the season because he was really rough to start the year, but then literally every center back they had died, so like they had no choice but to play Sakagawa. So like he's been much better since the first couple weeks of the season.
He's been great, or more than good enough, especially as a U23.
It goes to show too, like the U23 goalies, it's so stupid. You just get the guy that's most likely to play. But even then, like the guy that was most likely to play and have absolutely no issues was Kositani, and he got benched this week. So I don't know what you're supposed to do with goalie. The realistic key is to have a lot of them, right? And that's hard to do for most people because you don't want to carry 8 U23 goalies, but the more you carry, you get to play matchups, and 2, if something happens, you just can deal with that and move to the next situation. Like Song Bum Kuhn for John Bach or Hyundai. I think he's on John Bach. I forget.
Yeah, John Bach.
Korean teams I get confused with sometimes. Like he was also very, very consistent, but then I think he either got COVID and or is not vaccinated, so therefore he had issues when it came to the Champions League, which therefore caused him a lot of issues as well. So it's just I don't know. I think the key is just to carry a bunch of goalies and then just figure it out as you go. Because if you have one guy, he got COVID, but he had COVID before he went Techers. I don't think he had he came back late for whatever reason after the Champions League, and I don't know what the situation was.
I thought it was he couldn't go into the bubble because he tested positive.
No, but then he did go to the bubble.
Oh.
But then he came back, and then this was the first game back in the Korean League, and he missed the game, which I don't understand how that happened unless he's not vaccinated. Because, I'm pretty sure Kikuchi and some of the guys on Vissel Kobe were not vaccinated. That's why they were late to the bubble. And then that's why they did not play the first game back after the bubble because they had to go into quarantine. Not I don't know that, but that's what makes the most logical sense to me in the situation. So I'm not sure what is going on in regards. But so Josh has talked about Solentano. We've seen a lot of random U23 goalies get opportunities. So I just think the more goalies you have, and this isn't some new revelation, but the more goalies you have, the more protected you are, and it's just better. But again, it's hard. If your gallery's small, carrying 4 goalies, and that's 2.
It's impossible.
2 at least, and if they're U23 goalies, you're talking 3 to 3.5.
Yeah, I think like any goalkeeper conversation always pushes me back to what Quinny said months ago, and it was just like you have to look at the goalie as your price of admission into these free to play games. You just buy a goalie, and because the pool of U23 goalies is so small, particularly in the summer, like that's exactly what we talked about. Like months ago, I assume we thought Hazel was going to start. I think it was kind of around that time. So we were like, it was Hazel, Ochoa, who hasn't played, Tani, Oki, and Osako. And we were like, that's it. And then Slonina, excuse me. And it was kind of like, well, who's the best one? And it's like, it doesn't matter. You just need one. And obviously their prices are different because scores are different. Like some people with big enough budgets will pay for the higher one. But like the most important thing was like they played. That's it. And so like if you were like, I'm going to go get Osako, and then the season starts and it's like Hayashi's in there, like that can kill like your whole lineup. And so we're now, what is this, May 6th? We don't know what's going on with Tani. All of us assume he gets the job back soon, but like we don't know. Oki's still not starting. Ochoa hasn't played. Like he's coming back, but like has he started an MLS game yet?
Who? Ochoa? No.
Yeah, no.
He went to the Mexico friendly for whatever reason.
Right. And so like we don't know what's going on there. And Hazel's been terrible. Like really bad.
Actually he was good until recent.
Yes.
He was good early in the season. Well, the issue is, right, like if Hazel doesn't give up 3, he's good.
Yeah.
If he gives up 3, he's bad. Realistically, like you said, like goalie's just really dumb. Any goalie has a chance, right? I want the goalie who, if they don't give up 3, will at least be serviceable, which to me is Hazel. He's the guy that it's Slonina too, but the problem is I'm not paying Slonina's price. I don't really want to pay. None of these guys are worthy of being like 1.5, 2 ETH. Like Slonina is 1.4 ETH. He is not worth 1.4 ETH. I would much rather buy a Hazel and buy a someone else.
Yeah.
And hope that it works out and I get one of them. Because like, look, Slonina, you know what Slonina is? He's Hazel except for he's keeping clean sheets. That's literally what Slonina is. It's not like Chicago Fire is going to be a team that's going to keep like 50% clean sheets on the season. Yeah. It's not going to happen. So like same thing. Like I don't think Vancouver's good, obviously, but Vancouver's also not going to give up 3+ goals in every game. Like if you remove the goals against, right? Here's Hazel's AA on the season: 10, 22, 18, 32, 10, 0, 4, 4. Okay. That's probably an average AA of like 15. That's pretty solid. That means that every game he doesn't give up 3, he's going to average you about 50. And if he holds a clean sheet, like the 2 games he held a clean sheet, he ripped an 82 and a 70. Those are really good games. If you have an 82 and a 70, that's awesome for you in a week. Some of the games where he gave up not 3 goals, like the one game he gave up 3 goals, he still had 47 points, Laird.
Yeah.
So like it's a guy that like he's gonna get action, he's gonna get volume. You just have to hope he doesn't give up 3 and then he's in play. But like realistically speaking, none of these guys are on an elite level team. So none of them are gonna hold a elite level amount of clean sheets. So therefore you just are you want the guy that's gonna start, and then after that it doesn't really matter. Because any of them can hold a clean sheet any given weekend, but they can also like the one thing you can bank on realistically is like if a guy scores and doesn't lump the ball out of the back, they are going to be okay if they don't give up 3. Like Ochoa, if he gives up 1, he's a disaster.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get decisive, disaster. Whereas Hazel is slam dunk if he doesn't concede, really good if he gives up no negative decisive, and then if he gives up a negative decisive, he's bad, which everyone's bad.
Which everyone is, yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing about all of these guys is you want like the biggest risk in terms of what happens next is with Slonina, who's the most expensive. Like there were all those rumors about him going to Juventus or somewhere overseas. Like it's clear that he wants to go overseas. I think there wasn't there talk that he is like he could play for Poland, and I think if he gets some sort of Poland citizenship, then it'll be easier for him to transfer to a European team. And so like you're going to pay all of that for potentially a player who like sits. Like he's not going to Juventus to start at 19.
The only way, so I will say there's one path to Slonina like becoming the guy that I would pay like 1.5 for, and that's if he gets the Vandevoordt treatment. If he signs somewhere, like if he signs at Hube and it's like he will stay with Chicago Fire through next season, and then you're like, I lock in a goalie for a season and a half, because that's what I said. The biggest, most alpha goalie in U23 is by far Vandevoordt. If you are playing U23 and you do not have a Vandevoordt, you should go buy a Vandevoordt. The reason is because he is locked in longer than any U23 goalie. No U23 goalie is really locked in even past this year. Because like we talk about Diogo Costa being the best option because his team is really good. He could transfer to like Wolves or something, and then he's not as good. Vandevoordt is locked in, really good on a good team. Like Genk,
a good team, yeah.
Genk is typically good.
It should be good.
So anyways, he's locked in on a hypothetically good team. He has decent AA because he doesn't lump the ball to the back. That's not how Genk plays. They should be a top 5 team in the Belgian league at worst for 2 seasons. That is huge. Then he goes to what theoretically should be a pretty good Champ Europe team with a path to start, because when he goes there, Gulashi should be nearing the end of his career, and he still will be under 23 when he goes there. So, like, in my opinion, by far and away, the best goalie on the platform, other than your boy Donnarumma, to buy. And like, I wouldn't even buy Donnarumma. Well, you could buy Donnarumma at this point because there's no way he doesn't start next year. Like, if he doesn't start next year, it'd be absurd. But his price point's already absurd. But the one U23 goalie every single person should have is Vandevoordt, and I'm happy to pay a premium on Vandevoordt for the reasons we just discussed.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's as simple as that. Like and we talk about this a little bit with like any U23 player, that like transfer risk is the biggest risk. Like, it's not injury, it's not losing playing time, it's literally transfer risk.
Yeah.
And we're like basically coming up in the summer where a bunch of the top guys could just be dead when they transfer to bigger clubs. And just like you said, like, we know Vandevoordt is going to a bigger club, but we also know it's not happening for 2 years. Like, it's awesome. Like, if he goes to Leipzig now, he's benched.
Yep.
But he's not. And so we know that. And so, I mean, anytime you have a U23 player, it's all about, like, the biggest risk is always about what happens next. And you hope that, they end up somewhere where they keep playing, but it's just no guarantee. And Lairdinho, death taxes, and then Donnarumma slander.
Well, Hayden, to be fair, Hayden's cost himself a lot of money by having a Donnarumma this year, but he's going to hang his hat on that he bought it at like 2 and it's worth like 4, and that, which is fair.
Yeah.
But he's probably cost himself well more than 2 by having that card in his gallery this year, I would reckon. And Bullstar, this is not the unofficial Pablo Ruiz fan club. This is the official one.
This is the official one.
I'm definitely the president of it, I would say. I'm definitely going to take the credit on the Pablo Ruiz fan club. I'm definitely the head dog on that train.
So speaking of that, so how does it feel to make the biggest purchase you've made on the entire platform for a unique of Pablo Ruiz, only to see another one get auctioned weeks later?
It's really stupid, to be fair. I mean, I'm not shocked. Like, I said that it was probably going to happen when I bought it. But, like,
L5's too good, Sean. He's too good to sit out.
Anyone that has a good L5 someone that has a good L5 that isn't, like, fully locked in as, like, an elite level L5 guy, they're going to get auctioned. Their U is going. Like, their U is going to go. And Ruiz was no different here. But it's just kind of ridiculous that you have a card that you auction off as unique within a month. Like, and they did with Joao Moutinho. They did it with him too, where they auctioned his card twice in like a 3-week span, and it's absurd. Like,
3 weeks, yeah.
There should be at least a timeline where you have to not release the second unique in because like they could have done it in like, I don't know. What's today? Today's May. They could have done it in like July or August. Like, they have other cards in the MLS they can auction. There should be like at least a couple month like delay before you auction a new season unique and an old season unique. Because like you can then push it forward, right? So if he auctioned it in like, let's say July, you could offer it at any point next season when it comes out. So you could offer a big one. But like if you just offered it and you gave it and you sold it in April, you shouldn't be selling it again in May. That's just kind of a bad look on thing. I really don't care, to be fair. Like, I don't care that much, but it's still like I saw it and I was just like, I mean, the amount of things that I've just shook my head at today, like I would say most everyone would be way more pissed if they got a tier 1 like I did with Joao Paulo. I just laughed. I just was like, whatever.
So I think you at least appreciated that, like, he got hurt 2 days ago.
Yes.
It's not like he got hurt 3 weeks ago.
So that's the key, right? Like, actually, the funny thing, this is the second, like, a pretty elite level card that I've got. The other one was way more valuable, where they tore their ACL that weekend.
For those who haven't seen, Sean won a Joao Paulo rare today, and Joao Paulo tore his ACL on Wednesday night in the CONCACAF Champions League final.
I won so Nanza, we saw it. You now have all the Joao Moutinho uniques and the super rares. You have like the entire. You're the Joao Moutinho fan club.
Yeah,
literally, it's you because like you have all the cards. No one else can even get in there. But I don't. So the other one I won was like Leo Grimel, who like before I think I got him as a tier 1 in U23 for like second, and so Chani's talking about them reaching out to Gazan. We think they reached out to the Gazan people because there was an error that
it was last year's card.
That was last year's card. It shouldn't have been given out, which I think that's the case. But so here's the thing, right? Joao Paulo tore his ACL this weekend. If he tore his ACL a week ago when I got the card, I'd be pissed. But it happened this weekend. He should have been in the rewards pool for this weekend, like because it
was a tier 1.
Yeah, it was a tier 1. It was a high end tier 1 too. I think it was like 4th of 22 or something.
Yeah, that's a pretty good tier 1.
Yeah, so it was a higher end tier 1. But I mean, yeah, obviously it's annoying and it sucks. But at the same point, it is a situation where I think that it makes sense that it was in there. I obviously stinks that I got it. But to be fair, I've made my like 0.15, 0.2 ETH worth out of just laughing hysterically at getting that card because it was just totally, we were laughing and making fun of, like, we were just talking, not making fun of, but like we were talking about like someone we had that we're friends with who was on the Orlando meetup, Nashi, bought the card the day of the ACL tear, then sold the card and dumped it onto Bologna for like not
much less. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the price is traded way more than what he sold. So we were like laughing about the Joao Paulo situation the other day. So like me getting it was honestly pretty hilarious, and it is what it is. Like obviously it's annoying, but I understand it. It's gonna happen in the game. So I'm not gonna. There's definitely times where I'm way more annoyed. Like when I win a card that I can't sell for 1.5 ETH for a tier 0 super rare, that is way worse than like me getting a card that just got injured.
I'm pretty sure when I won Luis Urruti, he was like 2 or 3 weeks from his torn ACL. So I think was a little more pissed.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And I've won cards with the same situation. Like I won a goalie. Yeah, like this weekend I won a tier 2 super rare in gas. It was a U23 goalie that got benched a month ago, and his team's already relegated in Turkey. Why am I winning this card as anything, and much less a tier 2? Like if you're including DNPs, and you know why? Because it's a 5-game week delay and blah blah blah. But I shouldn't be winning a card that was benched a month ago.
Yeah,
it just makes no sense.
I had one of those as well. A U23 goalie who was an injury fill-in, and then he missed. The starter came back, and there was 3 more game weeks, and then I won him. And he probably moved from like a star to a tier 1. Like that's why I got him. Like I got a Rudy as a tier 1. And it's like I got him as a tier 1 because his price went from 0.8 to 0.2 because everybody's dumping it because he tore his ACL. And it's like
Bob said he was the one that got the Joao Paulo move off to Nashi. That's good timing on that. That had to make you feel good when you saw it. Like it's a weird thing, right? Like no one obviously wants to see anyone tear their ACL, but I'm sure Bob saw him tear his ACL, and Bob's like, yeah, like thank God I got rid of that card today instead of like tomorrow, because it's so much about time. And like I've sold you 2 cards where they got benched immediately after me selling them to you. Immediately. I mean, granted, like I don't really know why you wanted Van Overeem.
It was a different time.
It was a different time. The Kim Min-tae was bad luck, and like I definitely understood why you wanted that card. the Van Overing was, I didn't really understand why you wanted it, but I gave you a good deal on it. Just
doesn't look good anymore.
No, it doesn't look great anymore. But that is like, so goalies is the trickiest thing, especially in terms of rewards. And it all goes back, like we've talked about, it's beating a dead horse, lack of manual oversight, right? If you have someone that's manually overlooking things, they can be like, hey, Brad Guzan ruptured his Achilles, his career's over 3 weeks ago. He should probably not be in the tier. And it's just stuff like that I think constantly bugs and annoys people and wears on them, because it's like, you look at it and you're like, man, literal like 1% effort catches a lot of stuff, right? And they don't put in the 1% effort, which is sad because it's so basic. There's so many things where we see and it's just like, you put in a 1% effort and you catch 80% of the issues, because it's very simple. Like Urruti, you won Urruti 3 weeks after he tore his ACL. How's that not picked up on? If you put in a very minimal amount of effort, you're going to catch that, and they just don't. And that's something that bothers people over and over again, that just continuously happens, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, coming from RotoWire, where like a lot of that job is trying to find injury news. Like, I mean, we all do it. It's not, injury news is not like always readily available. Mm-hmm. It's not, managers go out of their way to not say things. I mean, we're talking this. It's Friday. The game week closed 4.5 hours ago, and like Szymanski's out, and I'm in a Discord and everyone has him, and we're like, all right, well that lineup's dead. Smoloff was out, and it's just like, those are things that we don't necessarily know. But like big injuries, like a torn ACL and a guy is out for months, like those are things that actually should be caught by like some sort of computer. Like, you don't need a human to say this guy's price has gone from 0.8 to 0.2 and he's a DNP the last 3 games. At least have that be an alert where a human can then go in. But like, that's what frustrates me. I mean, obviously it frustrates all of us, but like, getting rewards is not that easy. And then getting one who's hurt, that just like can't help you. Like, you can sell for, pennies on the dollar, but you can't play them. And so it's
I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like, I'm honestly happy I got this card, because imagine that you are someone else, right? That you have, let's say, a 3, 4, 5 ETH gallery, and you won that card. It's devastating. So like, obviously I don't want the card. I want to win the card that I deserve to win, but I'm happier it happened to me than someone that has a smaller gallery that would have just been devastated by that card. Like, we talked to a lot of people. Like, I know Pudini. I'll give Pudini as an example. He's someone that we did a gallery review. He's done a lot of stuff we talked about. He's had a lot of success. He's won a lot of cards. If you're getting a high-end tier 1, you're like, man, that's 0.25, 0.3 ETH. That goes a long way.
It's a difference maker.
It's a huge difference maker. Like, that, most cards you can buy. Like, we were talking about Pablo Ruiz earlier. You can buy his rare for about 0.3-ish. That's a huge card. You getting that sort of in and around, like, that's a huge, huge return. So like, it happening to people like that, it's just devastating to see happen. So I just want to see it be fixed in the future, which, I mean, apparently it's not going to be, because it's been like this since I've been on the platform, and they just don't care. And it's frustrating to see, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, having strong opinions about the rewards is obviously like hardly unique for us. Like, people know that there are issues. But I don't know. I feel like everyone who has a different problem with rewards is just like, no, mine is the easiest to fix. So just like, they should just fix that. But because it's our, we have our own show here and nobody else can speak. True. Ours is the most important. So please fix it.
Well, we've talked, like you said, we've talked about a lot of issues, right? And it's the fact that none of them get fixed. None of them. And it's the fact that like so many of the issues are very, very simple to fix. Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know the algorithms and all the stuff they have behind their situation with the rewards, but like, I'm sorry, if there's a goalie that has a torn AC or Achilles in the rewards pool for a month, you got to have something that fixes that, and that is more that's more simple to like alter that. And if you don't, like, that should be what you're working on, right? Like, you should be working on getting something that can fix that stuff. But there's just lots of issues that are unfortunate that should be fixed and have not been thus far. And I wish they would hire someone to do stuff like that, but that does not appear. They have to hire 85 developers so that they can outsource the app, right? So it's frustrating to it's frustrating that one thing that I think if you had a team of like 3 people, right? Like they're hiring so many people. They're hiring so many people. If you have 3 people, a team of like 3 people, like that can work and focus on this, it would knock out every issue you have with rewards, or at least like a lot of them.
Yeah.
And the fact that they just don't hire anyone in that department is very confusing to me, because their platform is SO5 in the game and the rewards pool. Like that's the platform. Not hiring anyone to like overlook that and like have a clue on how it should run is confusing. And if someone's going to say like they have people to do that, well, I would argue that they do it really poorly and probably should not have a job, and someone else should be in that job. But
so yeah, like so Techers brings up that they need to monitor secondary prices because the tiers are based too much on auctions, which I agree with. That part seems to, like, auctions seem to play a much bigger role. However, like even if that works, it seems like there's not enough effort. And let me rephrase, because maybe there's plenty of effort, but there's not enough that goes into like, why is this guy moving from tier 1 to tier 2? Is it because he's not going to play for the next year? Or it's just the guy's been on a terrible run. You know, he was overpriced. He's on a terrible run and people aren't paying. Like, that's fine. But I think it comes off like something that they want to be completely automated. Like, they're like, we don't want to be in the business of like manually adjusting rewards, because at some point that goes down to the road of like, oh, they're like picking rewards for certain people. Like, we've heard all of those things. And like, so I appreciate that, but I don't think it's realistic. Like, I think at some point, like you can't just automate everything. Right. And with the hiring list they have, you just need 1 or 2 people to like be like, this guy should not be in the pool. Take him out, and that's it.
Correct. I literally just got a message from someone that we talked to. I won't say who it was, but like he's like, what happened with what you got? That's literally the reason I won't put more money on the platform. What's up?
With João Paulo?
Yeah.
But like,
no, I agree.
That's actually a terrible example of it, though.
It is a bad example of it, but it is still an example of it, because it's not just the João Paulo situation, right? It's like the consistent, it's the Brad Guzan situation. It's the Onana situation that happened to Chani. It's like all of these situations are the same situation. They roll into one and it's just not effective. Yeah, like I agree. Like, you shouldn't be picking rewards or anything. I don't think you should do anything like that. I think you should have realistically, okay, so like let's say today's Friday, right? Friday hits, the week starts, okay? The person or people in this division that we're saying like they have no reason not to have should be looking at Tuesday. So like the next couple days should be spent looking at like the rewards for that week. So, okay, like let's say they see like João Paulo right now, right? So they remove João Paulo from the list from next week, right? They then see like Onana's price point is like really like 50% off. They're like, all right, Onana needs to be dropped down. So they need to do some stuff like that. But like they should always be working like 1 week ahead. But they shouldn't be working 5 weeks ahead and then not look at anything again.
Is João Paulo in the pool? I didn't look.
I can't imagine he's not. Like, there's no way he's not, right? And he hasn't had an auction, I don't think, since then. I mean, I'll go look, but there's no way that for like this upcoming game week next week.
But he has to be in it, you're saying?
Yeah, there's no way he's not in it. Like, I can't imagine.
No way he's not in it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's no way he's not in it. All right, so let's see. Like, All-Star, probably need to look at T1. I don't think he would go down to T2 immediately. Like, was there an auction? I don't think there was an auction.
No. Or I don't.
Yeah, oh, no, never mind. That's so I don't see him in the gas prize pool I'm in Star, never mind.
So
yeah, Nonzo. Yeah, so like next game week, the game week that is coming up in 3 days that has not started, João Paulo is a mid-tier 1.
Yeah.
So someone has a good chance, and there's a lot of them because the stuff just came out. So in a week's time, a week from today, someone's probably going to win João Paulo for a tier 1. And it's not going to change. Like, someone is getting that card in a week's time.
What do you mean? Isn't he now in the what was that ridiculous term that they, not a quiet period, what they were saying, they, if somebody's rewarded, they wouldn't reward them for another
The
few.
cool down period. The
Cool down. Thank you. Shouldn't he be cooling down?
I actually agree with
giant ice
Nanzo
pack?
too. So Nanzo makes point, and I don't see why this can't happen. I think rewards should be published once the game week starts, or at least I think it could. Like, you don't think it should because then you don't know what you're getting in your like interest. Which actually, to be fair, like I might agree with, because like if I see like the star tier in Gas 3 is like the winner gets, like, I feel bad. Like Matsuyama won Goretzka last week for winning Gas 3. That's terrible. Like, if I saw that, I would just be depressed and not care about my Gas 3 team at all. So
Yeah,
you're probably right. So yeah, so Tecker said he's going to be in the pool until game week 282. We are on game week 269. 269. So Joao Paulo is going to be in the prize pool through the middle of June. And even if Teckers is off by like a week or two, and the reason Teckers is saying that is because he has to have 6 DNPs in a row before it counts as a DNP, and he played this last week, and they don't play this weekend. So, you're looking at you're looking at the middle of June. People are going to be winning this card through the middle of June, and it doesn't get helped.
So what happens when in game week 280 they're like, "Hey, we're going to put DNPs in the prize pool"?
That's fine.
And then he stays.
But that's fine. But if he's just got to be in the right tier, right? Like he's got to be in the right. If he was a tier 3, like if I won that card for a tier 3, I'd be pretty happy about it. I'd be like, all right, that's a cool card to win. Like that's a decent card. He had an auction last night that dropped his price to 0.133. I don't know when they'll have another rare auction of his. It might be a couple weeks. So, like, I don't think he'll drop past the tier 2 at worst over the next couple weeks. So it's just like, see, and Laird, you were worried yesterday. You were like, I want to have a topic to discuss, and then we Sorare created one for us to discuss naturally.
So Dennis Meyer says there should be a pick your own prize.
No, you can't do it.
Which I believe they were going, like, that was a big part. I can't believe I'm bringing this up. That was a big part of the progression bar. That each, as you move on, it was like, do you want your tier 3 card or do you want to keep going? And I liked that idea a lot, but there's just that's not easy for them to do.
From a week to week standpoint, you can't do it. You just don't have the.
Also, because we're all going to pick the same. Like, nobody's going to pick the bad cards that they give out.
Correct. Everyone's going to pick. If you have an option, like, you're going to pick the card worth the most money. Like, everyone's going to do it. Right. I just don't think it makes the most sense.
China was saying delay the rewards by 1 to 2 days, but like, I think that Sean winning Joao Paulo today is okay.
Yes.
So like another 1 to 2 days, like the 1 to 2 days are already there. Sean just described it. Like, today is Friday. We know the next game week doesn't start until Tuesday. And granted, we got a weekend in between. But still, like, there is time to go in and look at the list and say, this guy is out for a year. Like, Sam brought up, like, he's not dead. Like, he's still a good player. But, like, you don't want to give a prize that's, and he's obviously not worthless. Somebody paid 0.1 whatever.
If you give that card to like 99% of the user base,
they're furious.
They're losing their mind. The only reason I'm not losing my mind is because I got a lot of humor out of it, which made up for some of the dip in what it was worth. And that's the only reason. But 99% of the user base would be like, what would you be? No, not you. You would probably be fine. But like, most all of the user base would be devastated if they got this card. And that's the concern that you have. And I think that week that it happened in is fine. Anything after that is not fine. Like this weekend, even this weekend, I'm okay if it is in there for this weekend because they didn't have the time to change it from last night to today.
Sure.
So like, that is okay and that is understandable. But again, like, that should be like a manual fix that they should be able to go in there on they should be able to go in there Friday and be like, all right, we're removing Joao Paulo from the week. And that should be able to happen. But like, it should not be in there next Tuesday. That game week, it should not be in there for. But it's going to be. And like Tecker said, it's going to be for the next month and a half. Like, it's very likely it's in there for the next month and a half.
Yeah, like, I think the the biggest issue, and Chani brings this up, like it's the most important, rewards are like the most important part of the experience.
Correct.
Like we keep talking about how like the reward reveal is like so boring, and now it's like on the app, on the iOS app, which is like a little more fun. But like people play this game to win rewards. I mean, obviously some people trade and whatnot, but like that the whole point of us making SO5 lineups is to win rewards, and the we buy better players so that we can get better lineups so that we can win better rewards. And then when you get something like this, like you said, like most of the people on the platform would be furious. And I don't think they're ignoring it. I think they are very aware of how people look at rewards. But I'm not sure they fully appreciate how we look at it in terms of like, this is fixable. Please just fix it.
Well, so all right. So Peter asked a good question. I think it's very valid, right? What would you consider a long enough injury to do? So what I would do, Peter, is I would just, if someone's out injured and they're out injured, I would remove them from prize pools until they come back and play a game.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
That's how I would fix it. I think that takes care of any type of injury you have. If someone's out for 2 months or something's out for a little bit, and the reason for it is because if you pull them for the time being to sort of recalibrate what their value is, that's what you need to do. Because the value takes weeks to be fixed. So if you just pull them out of the prize pool till their value can sort of like be recalibrated and refigured out, that fixes it. And then so Sam talked about why have they not fixed it? It's definitely incompetence at this point. I don't think there's any other argument to why they haven't fixed it or why they haven't done it. They're focusing on other things. They're focusing on hiring 18 developers to do whatever they're going to do, which I'm not saying they don't need those 18 developers, but surely if you're hiring, let's say you're hiring 20 developers at $75,000 a piece, right? And that's like $1.5 million. You can surely hire a team of 2 or 3 people to overlook the game and pay them 10% of that. There's just no reason you can't do it. So, I mean, at this point, it's definitely an incompetence thing. It's not that they can't fix it. You can fix anything. You just have to put resources to it. And if they are clearly saying that their resources are better spent elsewhere than they are on fixing the game, which to me, that's the only thing that adds up there is incompetence. There's nothing else that makes sense there. Like it's not like a maximizing profit. It's not like worrying about profit and stuff like that. The only option is incompetence. Would you agree with that?
I don't know if I'm ready to like
so
define it as incompetence, but it's obviously something that they're either ignoring or working on and not telling us, which seems odd.
Yeah. All right. So Sam just said it's a bad judgment issue more than an incompetence issue. That could be the case.
I think that's a little nicer.
Okay. So, but I would argue, right, a significantly bad judgment issue is incompetence. So like it sort of works hand in hand. So here's a question from a SorareData perspective, as you being head of media or whatever you are anywhere. I don't know all the titles. I know HG is like God, and then you're there, and then there's other people I don't know.
I just work for him. Yeah.
But so like if there's an issue on SorareData, then just tell me if this is correct, right? If there's an issue on SorareData, the team assesses the issue, decides whether that issue is something that should be fixed now or fixed later, or if it's not as big of another issue that is currently arised. So if they decide not to fix something at that moment, they are deciding effectively that another issue is more prominent. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yes.
So like Sorare is deciding that fixing the reward system for like a year, we're talking about a year, we're like at a year. They are saying that fixing the reward system and how things are being divvied out is not the problem they need to work on at that time. Would you agree with that?
I think it's. I forgot what I was going to say now. Shoot.
You pissed the dogs off.
Yeah. No, I think you can look at it that way. That I think the problem is that they clearly have adjusted how rewards are done. Like, I think we know that rewards are different now than they were 3 months ago and 6 months ago. So I think what they don't want to do is constantly make tweaks to it and like see what happens, because they did that and people were pissed about that too. And so I think what they're trying to do, and I don't know this at all, I'm kind of just hoping this is the case, that they are working on like a total revamp, and whenever that is ready, that's delivered. But the problem is that we're all kind of in the dark and finding all these little things where like, you should fix this, you should fix this, you should fix this. And they're like, we're going to, but all at once. But we haven't been told that either. And so that's where we like I think the biggest frustration, you've said this like multiple times, is not that you think the reward system is broken. You just don't understand it. Like, we don't know
Correct.
What happens. And I said kind of the opposite a while ago, that like, I don't need to know how the sausage is made, but like, I need to know that somebody is working on it and like what the path is. And we just don't have that.
Yeah. And so, all right. So Brosaurus just talked about that they don't need a human solution. They need to iterate an algorithm that incorporates resales and markets and whatnot. So to counter that, yes, they need to improve their algorithm and they need to improve the technological aspect of things, but that can take a long ass time. Figuring that part out can take a long time. You need the human aspect to oversee the computer and technological aspect so that it knows when there's issues. Like, good example is like last year at the beginning of the America and Asia season, they overpaid rewards by like a significant amount for like a month and a half. Why? Because no one realized it. No one had a clue. If you don't have a human being or like a way to diagnose that there's an issue, you're just going to continuously have that issue and it's not going to be fixed or adjusted. So yes, they need to work towards the algorithm being fixed and more functional, but they always should have a human sort of aspect to be like, okay, this is an issue currently, we need to fix this, or hey, this broke this week, we need to look into it. So you always should have the human aspect to make sure that the computer aspect is working properly.
Yep.
And Mikey was talking about Nicholas tweeting yesterday. Nicholas has said the same thing for a year. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change. He just is out there talking. Like, it's fine. Like, we actually need to implement it. You can't just say like, we're gonna fix rewards. Well, cool. We're on that for a year. Like, fix them. Like, yeah. At this point, like, we're past the like you saying you're gonna fix them. Or like you were just talking about, like, explain to us how it works, so that if nobody understands how, there's a lot of intelligent people on Sorare in the community. There's a lot of intelligent people. If absolutely 0% of them and not a soul understands how it works, that's probably an issue, because means there's no rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah, I tweeted something yesterday about the number of commons and how I think what Sorare does now, and this is a totally separate reward topic, which I'll get through quickly because we have a gallery review to do, and you're already not paying attention because Inter's on.
I told you 12:45. My attention was. I was either going to be pissed because I got screwed on DNPs, or I was going to be focusing. I actually have a good shot this week. Inter was like a 2.5 goal favorite, and so I actually had a good shot. Good luck.
So anyway, so I am under the impression that the number of rewards, and this is something we haven't talked about, and frankly, I don't need to go down a whole conversation about that. But I think the number of rewards are based on the number of playable cards in a competition in a certain game week. And so people are like, oh, I thought it was the number of games or the number of licensed teams. And all of those things are kind of related. Like, the number of cards comes from the number of games that are being played, whatever. The problem is that currently the number of cards being played includes common cards. And as we all know, those are going away in August. And so if those are not part of the potential eligible cards for competitions that helps determine the number of rewards that are being given, we should see like a drastic drop in rewards. And everyone's like, oh, it'll be easier because there'll be less lineups because all the common cards, not everybody who plays a common is going to buy a rare goalie, even a backup or retired cheap one just to get a lineup in. Like, some people will be like, all right, I'll just go to limited, or some people have one goalie and one common, and instead of entering 2 competitions every week, they'll just go to 1. But we don't know if that's the case.
So here's a question though. So like SorareData like doesn't have the commons lodged and stuff. What kind of odds do you think that like they don't compare the commons? And like the commons aren't like part of their algorithm right now.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I literally have no idea.
Which again, part of the problem, right?
Right.
Yeah, like and also like let's pretend that's the case, which makes sense. That's not what they told us they were doing. That's not what they told us. That's how they were deciphering rewards.
I will say that they have announced changes from the last time they were like, this is how we do rewards. Like everybody always seems to go back to like whatever that last thing or second to last thing they told us. And now it's not the same, but I don't know.
We should talk about the meetup first, Laird, before we go into the gallery review. So Sam,
yeah, so
we did coordinate. Well, I told Laird to wear his jersey because like Laird's probably very anti jerseys, but like I wore the purple so that I got both the white and the purple.
Yeah, you have 2.
I have 2, but so I figured I'd wear the purple so Laird and I didn't have the same exact jersey on, and it would coordinate better. So yes, the answer is yes, we did coordinate. Let's talk about the meetup a little bit, Laird. What do you think about it?
It was awesome. Like it was a really good time. The game itself was great. We have these jerseys thanks to Sorare. We had the game tickets thanks to you, which is a little different. But I will say that, so they asked us, or they asked you to find out from everybody which jerseys they wanted. And we were all like, there's no way they're going to do this. They actually did it. I got the, apologies to who's listening, this sunrise jersey that they call it, which you and I were like, this is one of the best jerseys like in Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
And everyone got like the purple one that you got.
Yeah, it was very weird though. I mean, the only reason I got the purple one's because I got both.
Right.
Yeah, I thought the white one was fantastic. But yeah, it was great. Sorare came through. Big thanks to Dan. Made the game even more special. We had some great all you can eat seats. Price was amazing. Like we were like 5 rows up dead center at the field, and tickets were like $100 a piece.
Yeah.
And we got all you can eat food, drink, hot dogs, burgers, chips, cookies. Yeah, so Black got trolled by his daughter for getting the purple jersey. Understandably so. Like that was well worth the trolling by his daughter. But yeah, it was a great time. I mean, the game on Friday, the weather was great all weekend. Hotel was really nice. We won't talk about the nighttime festivities either of them. I was fine. So like for those that don't know, I don't really drink. So I just don't drink. I just don't care enough about drinking.
I'll say Nellis made sure some people knew how good of a time we were having.
Well, yeah. I mean, there is some video evidence, but I won't go into that. Certain people had a lot more fun than others, but then they also had a much worse time than others the next day. Yeah. And you're actually the one that drank the least. But you were not looking. Oh man, my inner stack is dead already. Fun. I know. It was a great week too. Great chances, but unfortunately we have died.
Did Hando come back?
Huh?
Handanovic, did he come back?
He did, but they conceded.
Yeah.
So I can
at least it's only Friday.
RIP. I mean, the rest of the team can still do okay because I have a lot of the players, but I mean, you're not doing anything in Champ Europe without like.
No. Thanks for playing. Enjoy your job,
Paulo. See you next week. Which I mean, hey, that's another thing that just sucks with goalies. It's just not fun. Like, I mean, like if we're 5 minutes in, and my team that cost like 10 ETH is just dead for the week. So yeah, Black. Yeah, the issue is Black. I have like half the team, so if they give a penalty up, I'm very likely to be on the bad end of that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a great time. I thought we had, I said to you earlier, one of the nicest things of the weekend is we had 14 people, including the camera guy. And I legitimately enjoyed talking to every single person, which is, I mean, usually if you have a big group, like there's some people you just aren't really going to talk to, you're not going to vibe with, whatever. I enjoyed talking with every single person. And I also felt like I got to talk over the 2 days with every person. I got to at least like talk to them a little bit and get to know them a bit and discuss Sorare and discuss life in general. So like I liked that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'll say that Jimmer brought this up at kind of late in the weekend, but he was like, we've obviously talked to each other, meaning all of the group that we were in, for months. I mean, I've known some people who were on the trip for years now, but I had never met anyone in person. And it's kind of like when you see all your friends from like a different part of your life, whether you went to school with them or, you know, some people from work or whatever, and you like don't see them that much. And then you like all get together and like, it's all as if you saw each other yesterday. And that's kind of how it felt, which is funny because like we had never met each other. And so like you and I have known each other for years kind of on the internet. And this trip was like the first time we actually saw each other in person. So
yeah, it was really, the whole trip just felt really nice and really natural. And I said, for me, it was really nice to talk to a bunch of like-minded people that like have similar interests, because like my interests in life, like I don't like to drink. Like I don't really go out party or any of that stuff. It's not something I enjoy. I like to sit around, watch sports, watch movies, watch TV, look at strategies on stuff. aka Sorare, like I like to Sorare, right? And it was nice to have a bunch of people that all had the similar interests. We all were having conversations about Sorare related things or soccer related things or strategy related things. And like, I know in my day-to-day life, I hang out with my dogs, right? And then my wife literally couldn't care any less about sports. Like she hates it. She doesn't hate it. She just does not care at all.
yeah.
So, and then like my friends, my real life friends, like, yeah, they might care about sports, but they all work jobs that maybe I don't talk to them all the time or don't see them all the time. And we also maybe not have similar interests. Like most of my real life friends do not like soccer. Like they all hate it. They think it's boring and not interesting. So like you're not going to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
So I thought all of those were interesting aspects of things as well.
Yeah, it was great. And anyone who is considering meeting up with all these people you've met on the internet because of Sorare, I just highly recommend it. Simple as that.
Agreed. It was a very nice weekend.
Let's jump into this gallery review. This was one. Well, first off, thank you to everybody who has submitted their galleries for review. This one actually came in this week, and I feel bad bumping it to the top of the list, but it was one that we really haven't touched on, and I think there's a lot that can happen. And I think this is a situation, this gallery is similar to a lot of people who watch us or and may find it helpful, which is why we're doing it. So the gallery in question, if I can pull it up, there we go. Owens Athletic is a 10 ETH gallery as of today, 10.12 ETH, with 83 limited cards, 6 rare cards, and 1 super rare. The super rare was won in a special weekly from limited cards. So that is the reason why the super rare is there. And the conversation was basically like, I feel like I have too much. I want to start playing more rares. What do you guys think should be the path? And I think this is, a lot of people did this. So this manager joined in February of 2021, but didn't buy a card until October, and only bought limiteds from then on. As you can see, that's kind of the majority of the gallery. And I think this is actually a problem that a lot of people have, that you get to a point where you can't play all of these limiteds. Like we don't have the limited pro. And so there's only one, scarcity to play. We now have all the underdogs and specialist stuff that there are more opportunities to play limiteds, but it's still just not nearly that many. So we're tasked here with figuring out what the next steps are. What was your first impression on this gallery?
Similar to what you just said. Like, so there's too many limiteds, right? There's just, you are capped with what you can do with limiteds, which is what we've talked about before. You can play, yes, there are the specials, but so the issue with specials, a lot of the guys you're going to have to play for like underdog and specialists are not guys you're going to want overall in the limited department. Right. So I feel like this person has a great limited gallery. So my view on limiteds, and we'll see what you think. If you have elite level limiteds, playing limiteds makes sense, which this guy does have.
Yeah.
Do you agree that if you do not have elite level limiteds, limiteds don't really make sense?
I think I don't completely agree, because I think if you don't have the elite level limiteds, then you're obviously not going to have the elite. It's not like you're like, all right, I'm out of limiteds, let me go get some rares. Like it's easier to win prizes in limited because there are just so many of them. And obviously there are a lot of people competing, but I think if you have, there are only so many elite level limiteds that you need.
Correct.
Like you don't need to have an abundance of limiteds, because as of now, there's just not a lot of places to play them. And
Correct.
so I think you do get to a point where you're just like, this is too many. And I think this gallery is at that point.
Correct. I think that this gallery, for it to make a progression, it needs to go into the rare and super rares, which we'll talk about, to improve their team. I think they could shed some limiteds, but I think what they have in the limited department is fine. And like, are you really making an impact by selling a Noble Akolo for 0.003 ETH? No, you're probably not really making a dent on things with that. But so I think that there is definitely a situation where making a move into the rares and rare pro division is where this gallery is moving. I think they realistically shouldn't touch their limiteds. I think they should just let their limiteds win rewards. Their limiteds are probably going to generate at a slower pace, but they'll generate some rewards as we go. So I wouldn't necessarily sell the limiteds, but they definitely need to move into the rare and rare pro division. Realistically, the way I would do it is I would try to set it up within one region so that you can maybe run like rare, all-star rare pro, and then that regional rare, and then work your way to that regional rare pro. So I think you can do all of that effectively. And we actually, I know what my first thing was with this gallery when I looked at, like, first card I would sell. And did you have the first thoughts on first cards I would sell?
So it's funny how we are like, you should sell some limiteds in order to get some rares, but both
I'm
of
not
our...
saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he should sell some limiteds.
I think there are too many limiteds. Like,
Yeah.
I think actually selling Noble Okello is okay. Like,
yeah, I
that
don't
stuff will be okay to get rid of.
Correct.
But so we looked at the rares and we were like, you should sell these rares and go somewhere else. So obviously there's 6 rares. Marco Ilic is the only goalkeeper. Andy Robinson and Gabriel from Arsenal are the defenders. Fabian Ruiz and Rafa are the midfielders, and the forward is Jonathan David. So people who regularly listen to us and watch us know that we're not going to push people into Champion Europe. I'll put it that way. And when you only have 6 rares and to have almost all of them be Champion Europe, and as you can see, like, because the one goalkeeper is not a Champion Europe goalkeeper, they can't even play Champion Europe except with a common. And if you check at the SorareData Twitter feed today, you'll notice it is extremely difficult to win cards in regions, or really anywhere, with a common.
Yeah.
And so we were both like, they should sell all these rares, basically.
Yes.
Or at least the Champion Europe ones.
Laird and I didn't talk about it, but the first card we would both sell is Andy Robertson. Andy Robertson in this gallery does not make sense. There's almost no chance that it will make sense. So this person also said that they were open to depositing 3 more ETH on top of like what they have in their gallery to do stuff. So like the first things I would do, so they also aren't looking to play Asia, right. So like we're not going to talk about that. They're open to MLS and like River Plate and Boca in Americas. But so the question I have for you is, so the first thing we would do is we would sell every rare they have, I think. Like, I don't think there's one rare we would keep. Maybe we would keep Ilic.
Right.
Would we keep Ilic? Is that the only one we would probably keep?
Ilic was the one that I would have kept.
Yeah. So if you sell Robertson, David, Gabriel, Ruiz, and the Murillo Super Rare, you're probably going to generate like 2, maybe 2, probably 2.5. Let's call it 2.5, right?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
So if we generate 2.5 ETH and he was willing to put on 3 ETH, we're at like 5.5 ETH. Would you be looking into the MLS, or would you be focusing towards Europe, which he did tell us Europe is his preference and where he likes to be?
Yeah, I would go straight Europe.
And I would do the same thing. I don't think it's bad to go in America, but I think you need to talk about what you want, and he does prefer Europe. So like, I think my recommendation would be focus on the European season that is incoming.
Absolutely. Particularly like right now, May 6th, like we've seen prices drop considerably because it's end of season and all that stuff. If you can bring in ETH now and generate some, because like it sounds counterproductive to be like, oh yeah, it's like a buyer's market now because prices are down. but like these rares can still provide plenty of ETH, even though we're at the end of the season. And so to be able to sell those and then buy a bunch of challenger Europe players for much cheaper, I think is definitely the way to go. And I mean, there are not many America or Asia limiteds, because part of my thought was like, we'll just use limiteds to kind of generate some stuff over the summer.
Correct.
But I mean, they have enough to do it, to like make a few lineups. But yeah, I think the whole key was selling these rares particularly, because it's like, it's just so difficult to come in. And I totally understand the draw of like wanting to buy Champion Europe players.
Correct.
But it's just so difficult to like consistently win enough rewards to make those players worth it. I think if you're really good at trading Champion Europe players is more beneficial than trying to win in SO5 with them.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And like realistically speaking, I think that Champion Europe cards in limited is one thing, because you can just generate whatever you generate in limited. But like, it's hard to win cards in Champ Europe Rare or Rare Pro. It's not worth it. If you want to make money and you want to do, and if you care, like again, like Laird and I've talked about this, we are strictly looking at things from an SO5 perspective. We are not the trader guys. We are not guys that are out here saying that you should buy this guy to then trade him later at a higher price. If that's what your focus is and you want to focus on Champ Europe for that reason, by all means,
absolutely
have at it. That's just not the way we're looking at things, because that's not really how we go about things, and that's just not something that we're super focused on. So for us, like what we would do is we would both dump all the rares that they have, generate the 4.5 ETH that would be on this, or I'm sorry, the 5.5 ETH that would be on the gallery, maybe 6 if you sell some limiteds. And I think the way I would go about things is I would focus on Challenger Europe. I would buy 3 or 4 goalies, which would cost me about 1.5 to 2 ETH. I would buy probably 3 to 4 super rares and make sure they're between positions. Like I would buy at least like 1 mid and 1 defender. And then I would look at a forward, but forward might not happen. And then I would either get like another defender, another midfield as well. And then I would spend, that would probably cost me about 1.5, 2 ETH. And then I would focus on the rest going in rares. So like realistically, like what your thought process is here is you want to play the rare lineup in All-Star and the Rare Pro lineup in All-Star, and then possibly work your way towards Rare and Rare Pro within that region. And that might be a thing where it might take you a little bit of time, but you might need to generate a little bit more ETH to make that happen, which totally can also happen, right?
Sure.
But I think that's what my focus would be, because as the moneymaker region or division right now is Rare Pro, which we talk about frequently. That's where you make your best ROI. That's where you're going to typically have the most success, because it's just the best region in terms of what Sorare has put out at this moment. And then also from that perspective, you want to play rare because generating 0.02 ETH every single week is very beneficial. So I think that's where I would go with things. What would you be doing?
No, I totally agree. I'm curious if you think that there's like too much, like not U23 depth, but like, do you think it's worth having Vandevoordt, Donnarumma, and Illich from the limited standpoint? Obviously, Cone and Bigelow will age out, but
no, not necessarily. I mean, that you aren't wrong. Like, I mean, we both think there's too many limiteds. Who to sell? Like, you got to decide who to sell. Like, I mean, he's got a lot of you have All-Star limited, U23 limited, Challenger limited, Champ limited. Like, you have 4 or 5 spots to play cards in that you're going to need a lot of the goalies. And I don't mind having, if all of your players are U23, it's not the end of the world. It just means that like you use them elsewhere till it's a time when you have to use them in that region or something. And that's not bad at all. So I think that it's fine to have a lot of like overlapping pieces and whatnot. I will also say, like, to me personally, I'm not saying like go and do this, because I understand why you want these cards, because you probably can't get them in the rare division. But like, Haaland and Mbappe limiteds are just way too expensive for me. They just are very expensive, and it just is difficult because are they worth 1 ETH or 0.9 ETH, or could you get more out of that? Like, for example, like to me, a super rare in Challenger Europe for 0.9 ETH is going to go a lot further than an Mbappe limited for you is going to go. But I mean, you are probably raking in rewards with the limiteds as well, so it's hit or miss, I would say, each way, right? Like there's pros and cons to it. That's why like I never really recommend fully selling like the cards that you want to have. Like he clearly likes Mbappe, likes Haaland a lot, likes those guys. So like selling them isn't necessarily like stuff I would definitely do. I think you can generate enough with what you have elsewhere to make what you want work, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like the Mbappe thing is kind of interesting because like the star, like if you have Mbappe or Haaland or any, I mean, there are some elite cards, limited cards in this gallery, but like you're using those to win star rewards. And the problem with limited is that the star reward pool is huge. Like the number of players who are tier ones in rare are in the star pool in limited because they need to give away so many more. And so, like I won two-star limiteds in the last 2 game weeks.
Yeah.
Uradeki and Rui Patricio. And it's like, if I bought Mbappe to win those guys, and like, I know it all adds up, but like, it feels like I should just be playing Rare Pro and trying to win something better. That's kind of the way that I don't know. That's the way I was looking at it. What do you think that the plan changes at all if it's like, meaning what you would say, where you don't have 5.5 ETH, but it's like, I'm either going to put 3 more ETH on, or I'm not going to put that on and I'm just going to sell the rares. Like, does the plan change much?
No, I think it would still change. Like in that situation, you're still focusing on rare and rare pro. And to get to rare pro, you need to get your rare. And like if you generate 2 ETH, you could definitely make a solid rare lineup. So like in that situation, like if I was just generating what I sold off those rares for, it's like 2.5 ETH. I'm buying 2 goalies. I'm focusing on like 3 defenders, 3 midfielders, 2 forwards, something like that. And I think you can easily do that with 2.5 ETH. And then I focus on the super rares as I develop that. The issue is again, like the best region to win stuff is rare pro. So like I want to be in rare pro, but like generating 0.2 ETH over and over, or 0.02 ETH over and over again is productive and valuable.
Yeah, I really like this comment from Sam talking about engagement, that more people would rather watch Mbappe and cheer for their Mbappe limited than their Julian Dessart super rare.
I disagree with that. You want to watch whatever cards that you have that are going to have a chance to win you a viable reward. Like I've watched a total of 0 PSG games this year. Like I don't give a shit about PSG at all because I don't have PSG cards. I watch now, some of the trash can games I watch, right? Like they're terrible. I'm sitting there watching.
I think you're the outlier.
I wouldn't say I'm the outlier. People want to win money. People are on the platform to win. And if they can win with a Julian Dessart super rare and they can watch the Ghent game, they're going to watch the Ghent game, right? But not saying like it's obviously easier to find the PSG game than it is to find the Ghent game. So Shawnee says
it's actually easier for me to find Ghent.
So I root for anyone I own and watch the players like that he owns. Like that's 100% what I do. Like I don't watch any Liverpool games. Definitely,
I don't think that's true. I think Shawnee's been a lifelong FC Tokyo fan. He's just
since birth. Shawnee's been an FC Tokyo fan. He came out of the womb holding FC Tokyo merch. Like that's just how it is. But yeah, like I don't know. Like I think people want to watch stuff that they can win with, and obviously like they can win really well with Mbappe. I'm not saying like if I had an Mbappe and Neymar and Messi, I would happily watch PSG games and root for those cards. But it's the same thing to me. Like I just want to root for cards that I have and that can be productive for me.
Johnny said, I've been an FC Tokyo fan all my life, just didn't know it yet.
Exactly. But that's like, to me, the cool part about Sorare is like I watch so many different leagues and so many different games more than I used to. Like I used to watch some Champs League, some Premier League, and like I'd watch some other sporadic stuff. Now I sit there, like I have the Inter game on right now as we're doing this. I will watch 20, 30 games over the weekend. I would imagine. Unless my lamps are terrible, then I won't, and I'll just lay in a ball of
just cry. Yeah.
But like, yeah, like I can like almost tell you for sure, like, right, like I'll watch the NYCFC game this week. I'll watch the New England Revolution game. I'll watch the Gank game later today. Like I'm gonna have the Gank game on. And like I'm gonna have stuff like that on. I might watch the Bayern game because I have Lewandowski. Like there's just lots of things that you do because of like what you have on the platform, and I think that's cool. I think also owning the Mbappe's and stuff is really cool too. But like for me, I'll say from my perspective, limiteds doesn't get me excited because I can't win anything. I mean, I can win. Like if you don't finish,
you're not the.
I'm not the person. Everyone watches where they can win the most money, right? Or like they can win the best cards. Some people like that might be your limited lineup. Your limited lineup might be the best chance that you have at winning something that's good. And it's just, oh man.
Yeah.
Inter's down 2-0. It was
that's
like
okay.
this,
push.
It was like this close to like a save and a Skriniar line clearance too. It was so close. Not quite though.
So if you owned Mbappe and Desart, who are you watching?
All right, so that's a flawed question. If I'm watching my gas 3 lineup with Desart or my limited Champ Europe lineup with Mbappe, I'm watching Desart. Every time.
So it's actually not player dependent at all. It's lineup dependent.
Well, yeah, both. It's like wherever I have a chance to like have the best results, I'm gonna watch, which is typically going to be All-Star 3 or like a Division 3 lineup because that's obviously where your best cards are or should be most of the time.
I will say that one of the fun things for me with limiteds is being able to be in Discords and ask people about good players. Finally, we're like, hey, I heard that Neymar's suspended. Is that right? And I'm now in a conversation with others who have Neymar super rares, but we all care. And that's my favorite thing about it.
I don't know. I guess I just don't care about my limit.
Your galleries too.
Which, I mean, to be fair, that's everyone. Everyone has different preferences. Everyone has different priorities. Like we know people on the platform that just buy cards on like teams they like and that they want to watch. And that totally is a realistic idea and a realistic plan. Like that's here's a thing though that I'll say too, right? Like I know Neymar is good. I've known Neymar's good for a decade. I know what Neymar does. I watch Neymar. Like I'm aware of what his game is. It's cool to me to like find out like what Junya Ito's like, right? And watch Junya Ito. It's cool to me to watch the lore.
I like that point. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's cool to learn new players. Like my knowledge and my player growth is so much bigger than what it was, especially like U23 players. Like it's cool looking at like, all right, hey, this is like what type of player Ryan Gravenberch is like what team does Ryan Gravenberch make sense on based on the type of player he is? Stuff like that. Like that stuff's really cool to me. But again, like that all goes to the whole thing, right? Like everyone has different priorities and like what they want out of the platform because they want to see so-and-so, like they want to see a guy develop. They want to see a new player. Like they want to learn about things. So like everyone has different ideas of things on Sorare. Like and that's what's great about it, right? Like there's no right way. There's no right way to play it. There's wrong ways to play it. I will say there are wrong ways. But there's no right ways to play it. And there's no like definitive thing that's better than another. Like if you like to trade, you can go trade and you don't even have to worry about SO5. If you like to play SO5, you don't have to worry about trading. Like I don't go out there and like trade nonstop. If you want to watch the Asian League, you can watch the Asian League. If you want to watch Mbappe and Neymar, you can do that. So like that's what I find really cool is like there's just a wide range of things that that people like and get to watch. And I think that's really cool about Sorare.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Ade here saying finding that big player before other people is also an amazing feeling.
Yeah, that's a great one. Like, I mean, we talked about Vinicius Souza. Like, people bought him for like 0.15 ETH as super rare, and they sold him for like 4.5 when he was smashing. Yeah. And they got out of it like at the perfect time. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think stuff like that's really cool. And I think there's totally a lot of options that are appealing. And that's what makes the game great, is there's something for like every different like person from that perspective, because there's every different aspect that is appealing that one person might not care about, but then the next person does. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, there's nothing like buying a card for 0.2 and then turning down 5 ETH and then watching it go all the way back down to 0.8. Anyway.
Are we talking about Joao Felix?
Shout out to Joao Felix.
Joao Felix, the gift that always gives for us.
Always, right? Always. All right, so that I think will be enough for us today. Thank you to everybody who has joined us in the chat. It was particularly lively today, and your contributions make this more entertaining for us. And so thank you, everybody, for joining along there. If you're watching the replay of this or listening to the audio version, thank you for doing so. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting the like button or rating, reviewing wherever you listen, that would be greatly appreciated as well. Sean and I will be back next Friday with another strategy show. Hopefully we don't go down another rewards black hole, but I'm not sure.
We definitely got sidetracked for half the show today. That's the nice thing about the show. We can do whatever we want to do.
Right. Yeah. Sidetracked implies that we had a track to go on, which is kind of funny. So anyway, but yeah, we'll be back next week. I will be back early in the week with Andy for Sorare Andrews. So definitely come join us for that. Thank you again, Sean. Good luck on that interstack.
It's not looking good.